Hello guys, and welcome to another video. And this one I'm going to be discussing the Transcendence keystone in 3.22. And if you want to look at this keystone in a bit more depth, I did do a keystone highlight video for it about a month back. But this keystone offers a really strong defensive upside, but it comes with two gigantic downsides. And that's why it's not really used very often, because the downsides are quite difficult to solve. Essentially what happens here is armor no longer affects physical damage that you take. It instead gets applied to elemental damage. And then there's this giant elemental maximum resistance penalty as well. And because of these problems that you have to overcome, it's usually used with Loreweave, as Loreweave has a hard cap on maximum resistances which overrides this keystone's downside. But the problem with that is that you're then using your body armor slot, which makes gearing for the other downside, the armor no longer affecting physical damage, very difficult, and it means you need very good gear to solve physical damage. But in 3.22 we have tattoos, and tattoos are extremely powerful. There is a maximum resistance tattoo. That's the tattoo of the Namahu Makanga, which is +1 to maximum fire resistance. There's also another few for cold and lightning as well. And there's also a unique jewel, Warrior's Tail, which has a radius around it, and it basically doubles the effect of tattoos in its radius. And so this poses a really strong option in 3.22 for the use of Transcendence without using Loreweave, and that makes gearing a lot easier. This is very good for Chieftain because of the Valako notable, but it's good for other classes as well, which we'll get to in a little bit with Melding. Let's focus on Chieftain first of all. So the tattoo of the Namahu Makanga grants +1 to maximum fire resistance. And if we take a look here on the tree, the jewel slot next to Unwavering Stance, you can get +4 to maximum fire resistance here if you use these 4 nodes. And if you slot the jewel in, you're going to gain +8 to maximum fire resistance. And you can make use of the remaining 2 strength nodes and the 1 dex and 1 int node that's in this radius to gain some other double effects for those tattoos as well, which is really nice. And if we zoom out now, you can take a look at this setup right here. And this setup with the nodes that are taken grants a total of +13 to maximum elemental resistance for a Chieftain that is also using the Valako notable. And with Transcendence, that is already nearly back to the base 75 maximum elemental resistances, and that is without Purity of Fire accounted for. So with Purity of Fire and some aura effect scaling, you're going to be looking at around 80% maximum elemental resistance or more without any gear accounted for. And this means gearing is so much easier because you no longer need Loreweave. You can make use of the Lightning Coil body armor to help solve physical damage. And since the shield slot is free too, you can use Dawnbreaker, which will already bring you up to 70% of physical damage from hits taken as elemental if you have a max roll on the Dawnbreaker Fizz roll. And there's plenty of options to solve physical damage really. You have the Armor and Energy Shield Mastery for 10% of physical damage from hits taken as chaos damage. There's the Helmet slot that you can make use of. You can gain 10% on a explicit modifier. That one comes from a Delve mod or the Corel mod. And then the implicit can roll up to 8%, that's the Elder implicit, for a total of 18%. Then there's Watcher's Eye dual mods for Purity of Fire, that one rolls up to 10%. There's Taste of Hate that goes up to 15% without Flask effect. And there's some other ones there too. But the thing is, this is not really exclusively limited to the Chieftain either. Because if you throw Melding of the Flesh into the mix on another class, yes, you have another -4 maximum elemental resistance to solve, which is a big deal, but still, it's quite easy to solve with the use of tattoos. You could go for prioritizing maximum cold resistance, for example. There's the tattoo of the Arangohi Makanga. That one grants +1 to maximum cold resistance. And there's things like the Brine Crown available for +3 maximum cold resistance. Or as I mentioned, you could make use of a Fizz taken as elemental helmet, and then you could use your shield slot instead for maximum resistance. You could use Aegis Aurora, which is +5 to maximum cold resistance. And there's plenty of options on the passive tree for good places to set up the Warrior's Tail Jewel to gain a bunch of max res using these tattoos. There is of course other places you can gain max res as well, things like the Eldritch implicit modifiers that are available to use as well. And overall, this is just kind of crazy because Transcendence is such a powerful keystone. It's used to make some of the tankiest builds in the game, and it's heavily gated by the massive downsides that it imposes on your build. But with access to these tattoos, it's actually a lot easier to solve in this league, and you can take advantage of this to build a very, very tanky character indeed. And that's going to be it for this one. I just wanted to do a little bit of discussion on that because I think this one might be flying under the radar a little bit, just how powerful Transcendence is in this league. And I hope to be seeing some people tanking some ridiculous boss abilities with this setup. And that's going to be it for this one, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks to my channel members for your support, and I'll see you in the next one.